So for those that aren't familiar with monomers and polymers and this kind of thing, basically you're taking a bead and you're creating the polymer, which is more like beads on a string.
Exactly.
And that can capture more things, like a big clumpy sticky molecules aren't quote unquote bad or good, but in this context, they're definitely bad.
They would be, yeah. So imagine now, if you will, the pulmonary artery in somebody who becomes infected with either influenza or COVID-19. And that causes an oxidative stress situation where you have the cell having more oxidative stress than it should. It causes dysfunction of the cell. The cell becomes damaged, peels back, releases some of the von Willebrand's factor, and now you have clots in the pulmonary artery. This is something that we did see with COVID. When they did the autopsies, they found many times more of these specific white clots in these patients. And so I don't know if that's the mechanism that's occurring in influenza, but there was a lot of papers that were published in COVID. And the interesting thing about that is that, do you remember when they had a paper that was published looking at blood types and COVID? And they said, you know what we're finding is that those with type O blood are just slightly less susceptible to getting COVID. They have a slightly less mortality.
Yeah, that was a relief to me because I'm O blood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing about that is well known is that people with type O blood have slightly less von Willebrand's factor.
So does that mean in general that we clot less?
If that clotting is related to von Willebrand's factor and platelets, then yes. There's other ways of causing clot down the clotting cascade, but yes. So I found it really interesting. There was kind of two independent points that sort of connected each other. The other thing that was actually really interesting about this, and this will lead to the conversation about NAC and why I was using it in actually patients with COVID-19 and influenza, and we'll talk about that study too, is ACE2. So ACE2 is a receptor for the spike protein for SARS-CoV-2. True. But let's take it one step further. That ACE2, what is it actually there for? Why is it even there? It's not there to be a receptor for spike protein. The actual job that ACE2 does is it converts angiotensin II, which is a pro-oxidant, into angiotensin 1,7, which is an antioxidant. So let's go back to the beginning of our discussion again. Here's the mitochondria. Here's the mitochondria is doing what it needs to do, and it's producing oxidative stress.